Well, first off, I wanted to tell you that it's very nice to meet you. My first introduction to your company was my friend has one of your bags, and years ago we were out at a brunch and someone spilled a cocktail on the bag,
Oh
and
no.
she screamed. She was like, "Rebecca!" and just wiping it off because she named it after you. And that was my first introduction to your beautiful line of work. So
Ah, that's cool. Unfortunate, but I'm glad the bag was okay.
that was okay. Let's start off, and I'd like to ask you, how are you doing right now, given everything that's happening in today's world?
I think I realized the other day that you can have two simultaneous or maybe even three simultaneous emotions about what's going on. You can be grateful that you get to spend all this time with your family, but like want to kill your children at the same time. You can be, happy that you have a place to get away in quarantine, but also really depressed about the economy and what's happening with our business, not just our business, but in general, most people's businesses. So I sort of have these mixed emotions all day long. And so it's like, it's a roller coaster every day of like good and bad, terrible, awful, all kind of throttling on different things.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot happening in today's world, and especially for you, you're a mother, you're a business owner, you're stuck at home. How are you continuing to run your company today, given everything that's happening?
So my co-founder, who's my brother, and I established, a 10 a.m. call with the management team. Every day we talk for about an hour to an hour and a half, and we're really looking and peeling under the hood of every facet of our business. A lot of our business came to a halt with all of our wholesale partners kind of closing their stores and canceling orders. So we really had to pivot very quickly. And in the first 3 days, we said, okay, let's just plan for this to be, an e-com business only right now. And so what are those moves we have to take to do that? So we kind of go through how the site is performing, any new opportunities in the wholesale market that is still alive and thriving. And then who is doing what on, who's on what base and who's sort of spearheading different initiatives. So we all have more than enough to do. We're all wearing 100 hats. I think the silver lining in that is as a team, we've never been more connected and we've never been more focused on one goal. So that's been great to see the team really galvanize and come together. But it's not easy, and it's a longer work day than probably pre-corona.
Yeah, what advice would you give for founders who are also working remotely right now and trying to manage teams, especially if they're the co-founder of their business?
I think that the first week was a total, I was going to swear, but I'm not going to do that, a special type of show. And I realized if I'm going to be helping co-parent and homeschool and cook the meals and work, like I have to structure my day differently. So we start off with our morning huddle. And then I made sure to block out, 2 hours so I can have some time to homeschool the kids. And I try and get through as much as possible. They don't enjoy that method. But then my husband and I can flip-flop, and then I go back to it, and I'm on phone calls more so than emails for the rest of the day till about 6 o'clock when I hop offline. So I think advice for managing your teams is if your team can all get on the same schedule and pattern and sync, if there are other parents, asking them, what time do you need to be off? And then that team can rally around those times so that we're all kind of able to provide feedback and be in the know what's going on. And you're not feeling stressed out like there's a meeting happening without me, because we don't need that anxiety on top of everything else right now.
For sure. It sounds like you're really on top of everything, but what challenges have you faced in the current times running your business and doing everything else that you're doing?
How much time do you have?
Hours.
I think the challenges are, we were predominantly a wholesale business. So suddenly you're left with no partners. The challenge is negotiating through those partnerships. Are they going to take the goods, albeit late? How are we going to negotiate with our suppliers and sort of cut down orders for fall and holiday? And how do we sort of talk to our supply chain about, a smaller business at the end of this? And also, how do you as a company who was built to be a certain size, now not be that size? So we did have to do some furloughs and some layoffs, which was the worst day I've had in 15 years. And so my every goal is I will not lose another person. And so that is the driving force, behind how hard I'm working and how hard the team is working. So I think another thing is that's been helpful is just being really transparent, maybe overly transparent with the team, because they all know it's hard, but I think we all want to be on the same page as far as how hard it can be, so that we can just have more information, more ideas, more creativity to sort of help get through this.
You mentioned a lot of difficulties there. How have you mentally coped with all of that in such a short amount of time?
I don't know. I'm sure someone has outlined like stages of grief or denial. There was several days of crying and just feeling like the world was ending. And then there was a period of numbness where you just are like, in order to go through this, I have to just become numb. And then there was like this snap into action, like the only way that I can get these people back is if we make sure that we around as a company, we exist. And so sort of going into fight mode almost. This is an invisible war, I guess as the president calls it, but for us and our business, it's a war I want to win and get those people back.
What have you learned about yourself as a leader, whether that's good or bad from these experiences?
I'll start with the good. I think the good is that I can snap back from these situations or compartmentalize, like I still want to cry, but I have to keep fighting, and that grief is only going to get in my way. And so being able to sort of segment out, okay, this is something that's terrible and awful, but I got to put that aside. The things I'm bad at, my patience level is short, and it's short with my kids. I feel like they're bearing the brunt of that. And so that ability to be that, I want to be the mom that's attentive and present. And I'm not, I'd be lying if I'm saying when I'm sitting there playing Barbie dolls with my daughter, that is not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about everything I need to get done, or can I secretly look at my phone while I'm playing with her? And so I don't feel like my body is there with the children right now, but my mind is anything but.
That's really tough. What's the most important lesson you've learned from running your company in this way?
I think the most important lesson I've learned in running our company this way is we are resilient founders and entrepreneurs, and anyone who is tasked with managing teams. I think you'll be surprised at how much you can get done, how creative you can get when times are tough, and how you sort of make lemonade out of lemons, and how do you like squeeze the most of that juice out of every opportunity. And also it's crystallizing what is key, right? Pre-corona, there are probably a lot of like nice to have or opportunities I would entertain because it was interesting. Now I'm like, does it affect my bottom line? Does it help my customer? And it's really making that lens of work really clear.
What do you think will be the long-lasting effects of the coronavirus pandemic on the retail industry, and how are you prepared to handle that?
I think it starts with a few things. I think trust. I think as designers who have had wholesale businesses, there is now going to be not as much trust in those entities with what's happened in the cancellations to lots of people's orders. And so I think we're going to be proofing up our business and really what works for our brand and what works for us as a business first and foremost, always. We're going to take a lot of that mind share that spent every day trying to prioritize those goods and say, nope, it's about us. It's about our site. I think you're going to see, lots of companies go under, and then the ones that survive and thrive are going to become really expert in their own e-commerce, their own digital marketing, their own ways to reach their companies, or their own ways to reach their customers. And I think you're seeing a period of creativity. People that weren't going to try things before are trying all kinds of new things. And so I think that'll only continue post-corona. And I'm sincerely hoping that, the curtain's been lifted. And so everything doesn't have to be perfect. Everything doesn't have to be like finished and tied with a bow. So I think that's going to be a refreshing way to see marketing from now on, I think.
You mentioned finding creativity during this time. I'm curious how you've been able to get creative with your business, given the economic downturn and the hardships towards the retail industry.
I think we're looking at a lot of cross-promotional marketing opportunities in ways that we hadn't before. Maybe some of these in the past, either we had been paid or we would pay others. From an affiliate standpoint, editorial partnerships, influencer partnerships, and brand cross-marketing. there's been a really nice synergy that we're peppering into everything we do, whether it's using me, dye my hair with Madison Reed hair care products, to showing you my favorite, drink of choice. And what's happening is we're seeing the long tail effect of those new audiences, and we're bringing in 70% new visitors to our site than before Corona. So I think we're starting to see that change. And so stuff I never would have entertained, again, putting on social or pulling back the curtain. I'm just like, you know what, if it's a like-minded brand and it's a great partnership, like let's both explore our audiences to each other and see what can happen. And it's working.
Why are female founders going to be hit harder by the coronavirus pandemic than others? And what can be done to help?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I think that there are a lot of female companies in smaller stages of their business and or trying to raise money. And it was already hard before Corona for women to raise money, 3% on a good day, minorities even less. And so when people's pocketbooks are closing up, that 3% becomes zero very quick. So there's a couple of things we've done as part of founding the Female Founder Collective is we are launching a directory Monday of female founded companies, and we're launching with around 3,000 companies, but anyone can apply and literally upload your company directly. So hopefully that stimulates consumers to just, before they go buy whatever it is they're still buying at this point, let me research if it exists on this directory. And I think that we also did an amazing partnership with UBS and Project Entrepreneur to give a cohort of 50 women in New York and 50 women in LA a really great stable financial base of knowledge. Those cohorts start in April. And so they're going to become armed with how do you fundraise in this climate? And what do you do if you were mid a raise and that went away? And so we know that women perform 63% better with funds than their male counterparts. And so I just know that if we invest in women and we support women and we buy women-owned products, the economy will be a lot better for it.
Yeah, I like that. What would you suggest to female founders right now in this position? We know that they're gonna be hit harder by the coronavirus. We know it's harder for them to raise money. So what would you tell them if they were listening right now?
I mean, I really think it depends what you're launching, right? I think there are a couple industries that are booming: hair care, alcohol, healthcare, supplements. So if that's one of your companies, like ride that golden ticket. And promote as much as you can. I think if you're a company that is being harder hit by supplies or services that aren't in need, maybe it's time to hibernate for a minute until the economy comes back. But there's a lot of community building that you can do right now to really foster and get a connectivity with your customers. You're not going to sell them anything yet, but the content you can create, the tips, the advice, the webinars, there's a wealth of community building that these companies can do now if they can keep the lights on, and then hit launch when we recover, and they'll have, a very engaged group of people to market to.
What are some surprises that have come out of this for you?
I think prior to this, there's two things that come to mind. There used to be a lot of segmentation within my teams. That's not my job. I don't do that. Or, it's past 6 o'clock, which is fine. I want everyone to have a balanced life. But there just was like this overriding culture of, that's your job. And that has been eliminated. Everyone is like, how can I help? How can I do more? What can I take on? And so that's a really beautiful thing to see. And it makes the morale really high, even though right now it's harder than it's ever been. And I think the other thing is I've been doing these Instagram lives with different guests Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock. And it's a source of entertainment. It's a source of levity. My consumers like, thank you. It's a break from the news. And they're all coming out of there, learn something, whether it's a new workout or a beauty routine or how to cook something. So that's been a nice way to give back to my community, and just take their minds off things for a little bit.
What personal tips do you have for getting through this? And these can be fun.
The first week I was mopey and not exercising, and I don't think you could feel worse with what was happening in my company and mentally. And I was like, I got to do something. And so I've just been exploring lots of great exercises. I think my peak, if I can get 45 minutes in a day, which is not normal for me, normally it's 20, then I just mentally feel better. So Peloton's free for 90 days, not sponsored. Sculpt Society. I mean, you name it. If you go on Instagram, there is someone doing a live stream of a workout. So just get your body moving and go for a walk.
Thank you so much, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me.